Okay, so we're diving into a story that honestly feels like it's been ripped straight out of a science fiction novel, but I promise you it is happening right now. We're talking about a high-stakes standoff in one of the world's most critical waterways, but this time, the price of passage is being settled on the blockchain. Now this isn't a line from some Hollywood blockbuster. This is the actual chilling warning being broadcast over the radio to hundreds of ships near the Strait of Hormuz. It absolutely sets the stage for what is just an unprecedented collision of geopolitics, military tension, and, you guessed it, digital currency. $2 million. That's the price tag for safe passage. We're talking about a single, large oil tanker carrying about 2 million barrels of oil. I mean, the financial stakes are just immense, but it's how this toll gets collected that is the real game changer here. Yep, this multi-million-dollar fee isn't paid through a bank. It's demanded in cryptocurrency, and the whole transaction is over in just a matter of seconds. It's a move that's designed to be fast, efficient, and maybe most importantly, to completely sidestep the entire traditional global financial system. So what we're witnessing really is the birth of the world's first crypto-powered toll booth. Iran has effectively turned the Strait of Hormuz into a geopolitical payment gateway, monetizing its control over this incredibly critical choke point. So let's break down exactly why this one little stretch of water is so important. The Strait of Hormuz is basically the throat of the world's energy supply. Think about it. About a fifth of all global petroleum consumption flows right through here. Before this all went down, you'd see over 100 ships passing through every single day. But after Iran closed the strait, traffic just plummeted by 97%. If you control this waterway, you have enormous leverage over the entire global economy. So you gotta ask, why this incredibly drastic move? Well, the answer really lies in years and years of crippling international sanctions and the very sophisticated financial systems Iran has had to build just to survive them. And believe me, this all escalated incredibly fast. In late February 2026, after some US-Israeli strikes, Iran's response was to just close the strait. But by mid-March, they seemed to realize that collecting was way better than just closing. So the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, started this informal toll system. And by the end of that same month, Iran's parliament actually passed a law to make it official, right before a very fragile ceasefire was announced. You know, this toll booth isn't Iran's first rodeo with crypto. For years now, it's relied on what's called a shadow banking system, using these digital assets. Think of it like a financial lifeline. It allows sanctioned nations to do things like sell embargoed oil and finance their allies, all while operating completely outside the reach of the US dollar and the normal banking system. Okay, so how does this whole digital gatekeeper thing actually work? I mean, the process for a massive oil tanker to pay millions in crypto in the middle of a military standoff, well, it's surprisingly organized. It's a really precise 5-step dance. First, the ship operators have to submit all their vessel and cargo details to an intermediary. Second, the IRGC screens the vessel, checking for any hostile links. Third, the toll is quoted, and it has to be paid in either crypto or Chinese yuan. Fourth, once that payment clears, the ship gets a one-time use passcode over the radio. And finally, an IRGC patrol boat escorts it safely through. It's a highly structured system for what seems like a totally rogue operation. And check this out. It shows you it's not just about the money. Not at all. Iran is using a 5-tier friendliness ranking. So friendly nations, they get the lowest rates and guaranteed passage. Neutral nations, they pay a standard rate. But any vessels linked to the US or Israel, forget it. Passage is denied, period. This toll booth is a tool of foreign policy. All right, let's nerd out for a second on the technology choice here. Why cryptocurrency? And even more specifically, which ones are being used? And what are the strategic reasons behind that choice? It really all comes down to a big strategic trade-off. On one hand, you've got stablecoins like USDT, which are pegged to the dollar. That's great for avoiding crazy price swings. The problem? They're centralized, and the company that issues them can and actually has frozen Iran-linked funds before. Then, on the other hand, you have Bitcoin. Its price is super volatile, which is a risk, for sure, but its killer feature, it is completely, totally uncensorable. And this quote just absolutely nails it. For a nation trying to operate outside of global financial controls, that lack of a freeze button isn't just a technical feature. It's a matter of national strategy. A niche slogan that crypto folks have been shouting for years has suddenly become a geopolitical reality. So let's zoom out. Because this is not just a regional story. What's happening in the Strait of Hormuz is creating waves that could honestly reshape international law, global trade, and the very future of money itself. So the first big question on everyone's mind is this even legal? Well, under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, which is the big international agreement governing all this stuff, charging tolls for passage through international straits is a big no-no. But Iran has a very simple and very powerful response. We never signed the treaty. And that creates this legal gray area that they are clearly more than willing to exploit. And let's talk about the economic incentive here, because the numbers are just mind-boggling. Estimates suggest Iran could be pulling in up to $20 million a day just from oil tankers. That could rise to $800 million a month. One Iranian estimate even puts the potential annual revenue at $120 billion if traffic ever gets back to normal. This is a massive economic lifeline. And this is where the precedent that's being set becomes truly alarming. I mean, if this model of military coercion plus crypto payments actually works for Iran, what's to stop other countries from setting up their own toll booths at other critical choke points, like the Strait of Malacca or the Bosporus? It could fundamentally rewrite the rules of global trade, creating a world where free passage is no longer guaranteed. It's sold to the highest or, the friendliest bidder. As you can imagine, the global response is already kicking into high gear. The U.S. Treasury is proposing new rules to tighten the controls on stablecoin issuers. The goal is simple: make it way, way harder for these digital currencies to be used for dodging sanctions. And as a result, any company that pays this crypto toll now faces the very real risk of getting hit with secondary sanctions themselves. And so, we're left with this. A nation under immense pressure has fused its geographic power with decentralized technology and has literally turned a physical waterway into a digital wallet. It is a powerful new model for challenging the global financial order, and the question it leaves us with isn't just about what happens next, but who really holds the power when the map itself becomes monetized.